Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture. Today, it's time to continue on with my series I call First Impressions, where I look at this week's issue number ones in comic books, or at least the ones that caught my interest, give them a read, and see if they made enough of a good impression for me to continue on with. Now this week, it's going to be a light week, as there were only two comics that I really wanted to check out, and we're going to kick it off with a new one from Behemoth Comics called Quad, Terah and Elvis, issue number 1. The story takes place many years after a solar system hit Earth, almost taking it back to the Stone Ages. And I say almost because while technology is scarce, it still does exist. And if you're lucky enough to have some sort of technology, you best hope that it doesn't go faulty on you, because getting someone to repair it is not cheap. Now this is when we meet Terah and her trusty sidekick cat, Elvis, who is not only extremely good with tools, but can also hold her own when faced with some of the mutated adversaries she comes across in this issue. Now while the ending with her going to visit a little old lady, I did find it predictable, but what did get my attention is that her cat Elvis just ain't your average kitty. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give issue number 1 of Quad, Terah and Elvis an 8 out of 10. The story and the art are both done by Eduardo Shaw. And while I'm usually not the biggest fan of black and white, for this gritty story, not only is it very well done, but it also works. Now this series is set to be a 16-issue series, and issue number 1 really set the tone for what could be a good series with lots of possibilities. So definitely, if you enjoy a post-apocalyptic story, and for an added bonus, this issue was only $1.99 for the digital version, it's definitely worth checking out. Now next up from Zenscope, we have All Guts, No Glory, issue number 1. Now what if you had a crew that resembled the awesome guys and gals from Gears of War, and they were secret vampire, demon, or any type of other monster hunters, but had to do it on the lowdown as to not let the rest of society know what was really happening? Well, you'd have this group of mercenaries who are great at not only going in and getting the job done, but also doing it without a hiccup. But the story here in All Guts and Glory really isn't about this elite task force, but about Craig and Jimmy. And while yes, they are also part of this secret squad, they're really just here to clean up the mess. So essentially, they're the janitors. And while Craig seems to be content with his occupation, Jimmy, who's not having the time of his life while being a high school student during the days, has bigger aspirations. Now while Jimmy is definitely dealing with a lot of unusual stuff in his life, things for him and Craig are going to get weirder than usual when they come across a vampire who isn't officially a vampire yet. And while the mercenary team wants to take care of her once and for all, Jimmy is going to defy their orders for what he believes is the greater good, which in turn is going to lead Jimmy, Craig, and their new friend to being fugitives on the run. Now on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give issue number 1 of All Guts, No Glory a 9 out of 10. While the story here was done by 4 different writers, issue number 1 was written by Ralph Tedesco, and I really love the premise here, as the main focus of the story really isn't about the mercenary team, but the unsung heroes, the cleanup crew. Now over the 36 pages of content here, there's plenty of time to not only get to see these mercenary teams in action, but also get to know Craig and Jimmy even better, to form a connection with these characters that will have you wanting to come back to see what craziness they will get into over the next 2 issues of this miniseries. The artwork here is done by Guillermo Fajardo and colors by Walter Perea, and their work is absolutely fantastic in everything from facial expressions to the absolute brutality of kicking monster butt. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this week's First Impressions video. Now out of the 2 comics I checked out, did you check out either 2 of these issues, or did you read another issue 1 that I missed out on that I should check out? Comment down below. Now this week was a light load, but next week I'm looking at 4 or 5 comics to check out. We got a couple cool independent ones I'm definitely interested in, plus Sabretooth and Savage Spider-Man I'm definitely interested in reviewing here next week in my First Impressions video. Alright guys, if you like comic book reviews like this and all things pop culture, make sure you stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.